So, welcome to the 30-Second Success Podcast, where clarity, courage, and connection come to life through the decisions that define us. I'm your host, Laura Templeton, and today we're diving into the bold, messy, and meaningful moments that help us move forward in business and in life. So, let's jump in. I'm excited to introduce you to my good friend, Donna Cravotta, who is the founder of the real 50 over 50. That's how we met. And we were actually introduced through a good friend, Debbie Keevan of Highlander Press Books. So, welcome, Donna. I'm so glad to have you here. Why don't you go ahead and share your 30-second message with us?
Sure, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me. So I have a agency. Well, it's not really an agency, it's an unagency. It's called Cravotta Media Group, and I help women as they're approaching their third act build businesses that they can have for as long as they want.
I love that. I love that, right? It's very intentional. I love who you're serving. I love that you know who your ideal client is. And that's one of the foundational pieces of really creating content and messaging for your audience and being
Yeah.
very purposeful in who you serve. So tell us a little bit about how you kind of stumbled into this development of the real 50 over 50.
It was not planned. I was just going along my merry way. I've been in business for going on 19 years now. So it's evolved over the years, but I've basically always helped people become visible. And I didn't realize I was doing that until, I was a few years in and started, compiling all of the things that I've done in the past and the things I was learning in business and the people that I was meeting and everything started to converge around this topic of visibility. But about 2.5, 3 years ago, I was kind of at a crossroads. I was just wrapping up with two very big clients that were not worth it. And I was really feeling that. It was like after COVID, after sending my son to college in COVID, dealing with a health issue, and I was really raw and I was really feeling what was not a good fit. And I was really beating myself up about it too. And I just stopped. One day I was I had three new clients waiting to come on board, which would have been a significant, piece of business. And people that I wanted to work with, one was a client I'd worked with 5 years prior that was coming back. And I just like something inside of me just like hit the brakes. I was like, I can't do this. If I don't make a stand for myself now and create the business I want, I'm going to keep doing work that I don't want to do for people I don't want to work with. And
Mm.
I just didn't want to do that anymore. So I stopped. I offboarded those two clients as quickly as I could. I said no to the three that were waiting. And then I just sat. And I was like, what the hell did I just do? There's nobody else paying the bills here. I've got a kid in college. It's just me. Um, but I started to kind of go through all of my experience and all of my work and everything that I was doing and dismantle it and take it apart and mix it up in different ways. And I was still in the middle of playing with this. And I got pissed off at Mika Brzezinski talking about the Forbes 30 over 50 conference because it was all the same people, all titans of industry or daughters of titans of industry. And I was like, well, what about all the women that I know that are out there every day, like on the front lines of life and work and making a change and making a difference? And I started to make a list, and it took me 15 minutes to make a list of 50 women that I knew over the age of 50 that were really getting things done in the world. And Debbie Keevan was on that list. And then I did keyword research. And the keyword research was about hair and makeup and clothing and how your body is falling apart. And God, like, just give it up now. No reason to keep going. And then I bought the domain, the real 50 over 50 for $1. And I said to myself, I should have had to pay for that or fight for that or at least negotiate. And then I swung back to my list of 50 women. And I just spent a little time and I was like, wow, these women are amazing and not enough people know who they are. So I started to reach out to them and I said, well, what if I just did an interview? Would you want to be interviewed? And I had absolutely no plan. And I had 40 interviews booked in 2 weeks. And now we're 2.5
Amazing.
years into it, and I've done 130 interviews, 18 panels, and we're consistently booked 4 or 5 months out in advance. The next interview is February, and we're
I
now in
love that.
October.
Yeah, I love that. And I so appreciate having been one of your guests on the Real 50 Over 50. That was a great experience. And I highly recommend, a lot of people listening in and tuning in to the Real 50 Over 50, because I think there's a message for a lot of women who are younger as well as older. There's so much great advice that comes out of the interviews that you do, especially the panels, that I wish I had heard when I was in my 30s.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think that's something really powerful that you've tapped into, is those messages that we wish we told ourselves, right? And
yeah.
I think it's
And
so
it's
beautiful.
it's just stories. I don't
Mhm.
really do any prep for this. It's not a podcast. It's just a live stream. I hit the switch, I go. I don't edit
Yep.
afterwards. It's just there. Um,
Yes.
because it was never really planned. And I think that's part of the beauty of it, is that it is just really organic and people
Yeah.
just show up. And almost everybody has either, been part of that core group of the 50 people that I knew, or people that I've been introduced to. There's very few that just kind of found their way. And there's no there's no money involved. It's just all very organic. And one of the things that I'm starting to do this month is I took a little break from doing the panels, and I was getting ready to put together a panel for this month, and it just felt overwhelming. So I decided to do a meet and mingle instead, and not just invite women that I've interviewed or are waiting to be interviewed, but open it to everyone. So once a month now, I'll do one less interview a month, and we'll do a meet and mingle where people can just get together and meet each other. No expectation, no recordings, just show up, have a conversation, meet some new people.
Yeah, I loved getting that email. So I thought that was really exciting that you're bringing that to your audience and the folks that you've networked with. So, real quick question. I know that you have made amazing strides, and you obviously are a quick decision maker, right? You've made a lot of those 30-second decisions that have moved you to into what you are creating now.
Mhm.
But what ripple effect did those moments have on your business, on your brand, and on your leadership journey?
So many. I mean, first of all, every time I grew my business, it was based on something that a client asked for.
Hmm. Okay.
So, a client would come to me and ask me if I did this or if I did that. And in the early days, I said yes to everything, to the point where I had 72 things on my website that I did. But um, I've learned you can wrap just about anything into a strategy session.
Hmm.
And
That's a great point. Yeah. That's a great
and
point. And I think that's the one of the biggest things that you have to remember is you learn so much from what people ask you for, what you feel you can contribute. But when you start to distill it
Mhm,
and really focus on what's important, or what more importantly, what lights you up,
mhm.
it changes everything. It changes your perspective. So, talk a little bit about how you've been able to take all of those pieces that were on your website and distill it into something that's really valuable.
So, when I took this little hiatus from my business a couple of years ago, I took myself through that content audit that I would bring clients through. And I realized, well, nobody wants to do a content audit. This sounds painful. And I said, okay, forget about what it's called. Just take yourself through it, see what happens. And what I realized, that it's modeling something called the gentle art of the Swedish Death Cleanse. And what that
Hmm.
is when you go through your stuff well, you're still alive. So you're not burdening your family with, your Dresden doll collection or whatever kind of crap you've got going on in your house, right? So what this is taking your experience, your relationships, your content, all of the things that you've already achieved, and start just looking through it. What stays, what goes, what could be upcycled or recycled, what could be given away or sold. And then you start categorizing it into those buckets. When you're letting go, you're letting go. I
Right.
no longer need this. There's 87 ways that could be beneficial. Oh, this is what I want to keep. That lights you up. That's confidence. That's lived confidence, that's your wisdom.
Right.
How can we repurpose this or make this into something else? Now that's making content creation easier because I've already done this.
Mm,
Then, what could be given away and what could be sold? You're now differentiating who your audience is and what they need to receive from you. So, like, let's say you're a high level consultant, you could still give something away because now this is giving you visibility in this generous way, but you're showing an elevated expertise and you're still
right.
saving the other stuff for your clients. If you're more, commoditized in your content, you can give away more and have that lead to low cost products and services. And, there's so many ways that you can create it, but you can now build this based on, what is the business that you want? What are the number of clients that you need? How much money do you need to bring in the door every month? It's not a one size fits all business, and it's adaptable and adjustable based to how your life flows.
And that's so valuable, right? So thinking about that, and I love what you're saying here, and that's one of the things that I think is so powerful that you can adapt, right? So how do you feel that this content reevaluation, or just kind of like
I
cutting things out
actually I
that
have a name for
don't,
it. I call I
oh,
call
what's
I
that?
call it a tried and new process, where you're taking all the things that are tried and true and mixing it with things that are new.
Tried and new. I like it. I like it. So how does this impact your message and your mission with that evolution because of everything that you've experienced, right? How does
You're
that everything that you've experienced really impact your message and your mission?
you're gonna love this. Um, for this age category that we're in, reinvention is thrown at us. And in many cases, it's a positive thing, but not always, because it tells us when we're at this tender point of realizing that we have to now start over. What did I do for the last 40 years? Oh, it didn't matter. All of this, the little, the cavalcade of imposter syndrome comes running in, right? But what we're doing is we're not reinventing. We're remembering what we already did.
Mm,
So in one fell swoop, you're like building a content plan, squashing that cavalcade of imposter syndrome gremlins, and you're building your confidence because you've already done this. It doesn't have to be hard. You know who it's
right.
for. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. I need 20 clients or 30 clients or 100 clients. Great. Let me just make it fit for that so I can reach that goal comfortably and build it with what I already have.
I
That-
love that. That's beautiful. And that really does, it's the clarity. It's you're
Yeah.
bringing clarity to everything that you've developed by going back and looking at, it's like bringing all of the things forward, bringing
Yeah.
all of the knowledge and all of the things that you've consumed, all of the awareness that you've gathered over the years and bringing it forward. It's not about learning something new, it's about how do I take what I already have and mold it into something that
Mhm.
is special, that
Yeah.
makes a difference, that makes an impact, that is truly mine.
Hmm. Yep.
I
And
love that.
when I see
So
people go
powerful.
through this, because they're all from the beginning, they're like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this. This is the echo going through the back of their head. And then when they start to see the pieces come in front of them. And sometimes we're just sitting on Zoom and I'm watching them go through their Google Drive, and I'm just sitting there, I'm not saying anything, but they're having this experience. It's like going back and looking at like your toys for when you were a kid. It's that same feeling. And, you're having this reconnection, this remembering, this it's almost like melding together all of the things you did. Because how many things have you done over the years that you don't even remember? That you didn't even
Right.
know it was a thing. It was just work, or you did it because nobody else would do it and it was just easier to just get it done, or you couldn't do something because your kid got sick, or all of those things when you can now start to pull these parts together,
Mm,
let go of what you no longer need. It's no longer riding along with you. And what you're
Right.
left with is the best of all of the things that you've accomplished over 30 or 40 or 50 years that now becomes the vehicle that is going to take you into this third act.
Mm,
It
I
eliminates
love it.
all of the bullshit because now
Mhm.
if somebody comes to try and sell you something, you can't be sold. You don't need it.
That's a
You really don't
great
need
point.
much of anything.
That's a really great point. So, hey, quick reminder, if you're enjoying this episode, please take a moment to like, follow, and subscribe to the podcast. Your support helps us reach more people with stories and strategies that inspire real connection. I'm just thrilled to have you here with us, Donna. And I love diving into these topics with you. I think there's so many things to uncover. One of the things that popped into my mind when you were saying about all the remembering and taking people back and really looking at the things that we've learned over time. How many times it's so funny. I think that one of the things that you and I've had this conversation around was how many times do we look back and go, oh yeah, I did this and I
Mhm.
did this. And like you start to list your accomplishments that you didn't, it's like when they happened, it was like no big deal. But then when you go back and you start to look at this is a real accomplishment and how you've brought everything that you've learned with you. It's like I feel like I'm repeating myself in this conversation with you, but it's those light bulb moments that are going off in my head going, these are the I know we've had these conversations about, the how important it is to recognize within our own experiences, all the things we've accomplished.
Mhm.
Speak to that. So speak to how many times when you've worked with women in the real 50 over 50, when you've done the deep dive and helped them, understand who they are, what power they have, what they've accomplished, and then how do you help them then move forward with intention? And I'll ask the next question later. I just think I asked you like three
Okay.
questions
Can
in
I
one there.
can I can I
Sorry about that. Go
can I
ahead.
just
Please
share
do.
my story? Because it all stems from
Please.
my story. Because I the way that I kind of operate is like I have to take myself through it and then I can help somebody else.
Mm,
And when before I started my business, I worked for 25 years in large global law firms on the admin side. And I did everything from like third shift word processor to, implementing their virtual training environment and everything in between. I was in the last firm I was at, I was there for 17 years. And when I left, I started a virtual business. I started a VA business in 2006 when nobody knew what a VA was and people didn't have virtual businesses. And I was a single parent of a 4-year-old, and everybody thought I just lost my last marble. But I knew I needed to be closer to home, and the job was not going to allow me to properly raise my child. So I took a chance. And I didn't know what I was doing because there was no model for VA back then. There was no training. Everything was new. And I just did whatever I had to do. And it took a couple of years until I really landed into starting to get some good clients. And I was learning as I went along that I had skills that I didn't know I had. I had a client that needed me to take over her PR. So I hired a PR coach. 2 sessions in, she said, "You're my colleague. I can't take your money." And she goes, "You've done PR before?" I said, "No, I haven't." And she goes, "Well, tell me what you did at your job." I managed the media kits for 250 partners. I wrote all their press releases. I handled the transactions globally and reported them to the financial and legal publications. And she says, "Well, that's PR." I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I gave my first training class online. And before I was even done, somebody that was there texts me and she goes, "You're really good at this. Like, how long have you been doing this?" I said, "It's the first time." And she said, "This is clearly not the first time you did this." I said, "Oh, I did corporate training for 10 years." She goes, "Of course you did." So, like, I didn't even know that I was doing those things and they were marketable skills that I can now bring to other people. I was just, thinking whatever I did there, I could do someplace else. But um, I still use the same system that I created in 1995 to manage those 250 media kits for the partners in that law firm. That is the same system I use today in 2025.
mm,
It's that 30 years ago I was doing this. And it's the same system I use today to do media kits. The technology is better,
Beautiful.
and it's what I train people to do. I had somebody reach out to me 6, 8 months ago, and she told me that she's been using the same media kit with updates that I helped her create. It had to be 12 years ago.
Mm.
So it's like the things don't
Well,
change. If you focus on things that don't change and build your foundation around that, then all the things around it that do change, they don't impact the infrastructure of your business.
speaking of change, you and I have also had some very deep conversations, and I love the fact that you're bringing in the other side of you, the Cravotta Media Group. That's something we haven't talked about, and I love that you're using the same system, the same program for all these years later, right? Because it works, and you know the system that works for you. When we have a system in place and new technology comes in,
Mhm.
talk about that because I
Okay.
know you are in love with technology. So I think that is a very powerful conversation to have. What is in that split decision, that 30-second window of decision? What helped you to gravitate or transition to embracing AI the way I know that you have?
Well, when AI came out on, what was it? Was it November 30th? Okay. December 5th, I had a product I was rolling out. It was done on November 30th. I just needed to kind of flip the switch on December 5th. Everything was built. And then
Right.
I looked at it on December 1st and I was like, it's irrelevant. I have to rewrite the whole thing. So I took that as an opportunity to do two things. One is to figure out who I wanted to be in the landscape of AI, because I didn't want to be an AI expert. I don't think anybody is an AI expert unless they've been doing this before ChatGPT came out. And the other thing was I wanted to figure out who I wanted to learn from. And until I figured those two things out, I did not feel comfortable including AI in anything that I did other than what I was doing for myself. And that took a while because, as you know, it changed every single day. And it wasn't just like, a little change, it was a fundamental change. I
Yes,
would go to sleep.
and it
It
still
still
is.
is. It still is. And I would go to sleep at night thinking, okay, I got it all worked out. Everything's perfect. And then I'd wake up in the morning and it felt like somebody just spun all the plates again. And I was like, oh God, here we go.
Right.
But the biggest part, I think, is knowing who to learn from,
Mm.
because there were the people that were just popping up out of, left field that did something else the week before, and now they're an AI expert. And I don't want any part of that.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. It took me a while. I decided to embrace AI, learn as much as I could about it before I even started telling my clients that I was willing to help them
Yeah.
understand how to embrace it for themselves. And it's powerful, and you have to be willing to change and be moldable with it because it is changing at lightning speed.
Lightning.
I just had a conversation with somebody earlier about creating images. I created a new image today that just totally floored me, and I wasn't using ChatGPT to create images because the last couple times I tried, they were awful.
Get 9 fingers
So
on one
yeah,
hand.
exactly. 9 fingers on one hand, and two eyes that were like way out of alignment. So it's incredible the transitions, the things that are happening. But I love what you're saying about two things: learning the how to use it for yourself, deciding how you're going to incorporate it into your work, but then also who are you going to learn from? That's a very powerful statement because I think sometimes there are a lot of people out there claiming to be experts in many different fields, but they've only been doing it for a few months.
Yeah.
What's your background? How do you speak to that? Obviously we're all embracing a newness when it comes to ChatGPT and all the other AI platforms. So, one of the things that what do you recommend for your clients when they're thinking about diving into using new technology, what are some of the things that you recommend to them to help them not feel overwhelmed?
Well, the first thing I recommend to them is to have a basic understanding of how it works, because it's not like any other tool. It really is insidious. It gets into the nooks and crannies of everything that you do. And to really understand what that means, and like from the very early days of social media, one of the things that I talked about was like asking yourself some questions before you share anything. Like, can your mother see this? Could your child see this? Could your boss see this? Okay. And if you cannot give a resounding yes to all three, don't share it. Okay.
Right.
And then you don't have a privacy issue. There is no privacy issue because you're not sharing anything that you're not comfortable having anybody see. And it's kind
Right.
of like the same thing with AI. Like, ask it questions, dig in there, but, be mindful of what you're sharing because you don't know where it's going to go. So that's one
Mm,
thing. And the other thing is, go in and play with it. And, I mean, like I take pictures of what's in my refrigerator and it gives me dinner. But, if you're going into this for a business purpose, go into it having some general idea of what you want from it. Don't just go in there
right.
randomly. And always keep control because it can go off into left field. It is only giving you the next logical word. That's how it works. And if you understand that, I think that you interact with the tools a different way. Also, if you're going to buy like something that's pre-designed, like custom GPTs or any kind of agent that's already built, know who you're buying it from
Mm,
because you don't know what they
great
built on
advice.
you don't know what they built on the back end. They're making assumptions about what you want and they're building that into the technology. And you don't know if they're maintaining it. As we already said, this changes every single day. If it's not
Yes.
maintained, where is it going? You could just be a little micro fraction off kilter, and you're going far in the other direction very quickly. So, I think most people have very basic needs. And if they just kind of take the time to really understand the way the tools work and build their own relationship with them, they're never going to need somebody to build something on the back end for them.
Yep. And that's a beautiful, I love that because that actually is very good, very good and sound advice. One of the things that I see too many people that you can go, it's kind of like the squirrel.
Yeah.
You can go down a rabbit hole with ChatGPT or any
Well,
AI
I've
very
been down some
easily
rabbit
because it
holes.
it leads you there, right? It
Yeah.
leads you there. But when you know what your purpose is, I love that you said that. When you know what your purpose is, I can't tell you how many times I've said to ChatGPT, thank you for that idea, but I really want to stick with this.
Hmm.
Or no, that's not what I asked you for. I've said that before. If it's not giving you what you want, you need to clarify your prompts. I think one of the biggest things that I'm teaching my clients right now is how to be a really good prompt engineer, really engineering what you are asking your AI for, but more importantly, your custom instructions.
Hmm.
Don't just set and forget them. They need to be updated just
Updated.
like everything else, right? On your profile and all that. Right. So if today's conversation got you thinking about your brand, your message, or how you're showing up in the world, come check out the Brand Success Hub. It's my on-demand resource center packed with tools, training, and templates to help you get clear, consistent, and confident in your brand without having to join another community. Just head over to 30secondsuccess.com and click on the hub, and I'll see you on the inside. So, Donna, one of the biggest things that I love to ask folks when we're together is what helps you stay grounded when things feel uncertain and overwhelming?
That this work is not about me.
Mhm.
I'm really rooted in I'm here to help other people become visible in the right way to the right people to, create the impact and the difference that they want to make. And, whenever I kind of get caught in the in the cycle, I remember that I'm doing this for other people, and it kind of pulls me out.
I love that. I love that. And I think that's really intuitive, and sometimes it's just that simple.
Yeah.
Embracing the fact that it's not about you it's just that simple. That's one of the things that I teach clients when you're crafting your content. Content's not about you. It's about your audience. It's about your ideal client. How does it affect what you're saying? How does it affect them or empower them?
Even when you're telling your own story, it's not about you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what advice would you give someone facing their own make or break moment?
What would that make or break moment be?
Like a make or break moment where they might feel like they're at their wits end. They don't know which direction to go next, and they're kind of in that stuckness where they can't make a decision. Maybe they're indecisive about which way to go with their business.
The first thing I would say is if you're feeling that it is actually a make or break moment, just take a pause, because I really think we all have our own answers.
Mm,
And when you try to find the advice or the answer from somebody else when you're in that space, it's not what you're looking for. And it could really set you down the wrong path. And we all have such limited resources, time, money, energy. So sometimes just take a drive, take a walk, take a nap. And you might find that, like, it might not be the entire roadmap that you need, but, you might have this little burst of clarity that will help you make better decisions. So, I mean, one of the things that I've learned in the many years of whatever I've done is, if I'm not sure, it means I'm scrambling.
mm,
Just stop that first. Like, I mean, and it might not be the thing you need. Maybe you do need somebody else, but let that answer come from you too.
mm.
And then, I mean, have that
That's
honest
beautiful.
dialogue with yourself. Let yourself tell you don't have the answer, you need help,
Mm.
not somebody else. Because then,
Some of the most clarity has come from trusting your own instinct, and I
yeah,
think that that is a great suggestion for folks that find themselves in that indecisiveness. So beautiful. I love that. So tell us a little bit about what's lighting you up right now in your work, in your life, in your faith. What's got you excited?
I'm really excited to have these meet and mingles with my real 50 over 50 crowd, um, because there's so many incredible women in there, and we're all just kind of steamrolling ahead. And even me, like, I'm just doing these interviews, but I'm not going back and doing anything. And I really, from the beginning, I knew that the magic is in the alchemy. So it's like when
Mm,
people connect, when I introduce them to each other. So I want to create um, a very easy, seamless way for everybody to have these connections. And I kept thinking up all of these things that were just like so overwhelming to me to be able to initiate them, that they weren't getting done. And then I just sat down with perplexity and I just said, like, these are all the ideas I have. What should I do? And it basically told me, well, you're making this harder than it needs to be, so just stop.
mm.
And I'm going for easy.
No, I can't. I sometimes, brutal honesty from your AI is the best way to go, right? So funny. I love that. I've done that. I can totally relate. Had that conversation with my AI before, so totally get it. So Donna, as we wrap things up, thank you again so much for being here. I totally appreciate you spending time with me and saying yes almost immediately when I asked if you would be part of this brand new podcast. And I'm in awe of what you've built. It is amazing. It truly is an inspiration, and I thank you so much for putting your gifts out into the world to serve others. So thank you so much for that. So what's the best way for people to connect with you or go deeper into your work?
Just come on over to my website, cravottamediagroup.com. There's opt-in up there every Friday. I send out an email called Friday Finds, which are just things that I find during the week. So it's pretty useful stuff, and you could just get on my list there. And I'm primarily on LinkedIn these days as far as social media goes. I don't really do much on the other platforms anymore. And if you want to watch the interviews, they're all on YouTube on playlists, so you can link to all of that from my website.
Beautiful. I love it. So before we go, share with us one final thought of encouragement that you would love to leave with our listeners today.
Everything is moving faster than we can possibly keep up with. Just find those few things that kind of, hold you to reality. And just keep seeing over and over and over again that what's old is new. And, hold on to the things that don't change and build around that, and then it all becomes manageable.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love it. We'll go into the things that don't change. Great advice. So thank you so much for joining us on the 30-Second Success podcast. If you enjoy this episode, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss next week's inspiring conversation. Until then, stand in your brand, trust your voice, and remember, success is just 30 seconds away.